Hello again. Welcome to another installment of the Quality and Practice Minute. In this installment of the Quality and Practice Minute, we're going to continue our discussion on cost of quality. This time we're going to deep dive on appraisal costs. In the last segment, we talked about prevention costs. In this segment, we're going to talk about appraisal costs. In the next segment, we will cover internal failure. And then in the final segment, we'll cover external failure. So just to review from the overview 2 sessions ago, I talked about the inherent struggle between quality and manufacturing, in that quality is charged with preventing defects from getting out to the customer, protecting the customer from variation, and manufacturing is charged with producing and shipping as much product as the customer needs for the health of the business. Cost of quality is a way to overcome that inherent conflict and build a common language and common decision-making criteria about those things that come into conflict. We talked about there being 2 primary schools of thought in regard to the behavior of a cost of quality metric set. First is the economic conformance model, which generally says that once the economic conformance point is reached, the costs are as low as possible, and any additional prevention or appraisal costs will just cause total costs to rise. And then the other model is the quality is free approach that was proposed by Philip Crosby in 1978, in which this model says that failure costs and prevention and appraisal costs can never intersect when all costs are considered in the cost of quality model, because the cost of failure is significantly higher than the cost of preventing that defect in the first place. In this edition, we'll deep dive, as I said, on the good side, specifically an appraisal. So this chart is becoming familiar to you now. So cost of quality is divided up into 2 subcategories: poor quality, which are failure costs, and good quality, which are appraisal and prevention. We talked about prevention costs last time. This time we're going to deep dive on what the appraisal costs are typically, or what you could consider to be appraisal costs. As I mentioned, the underlying economics of the cost of quality are that costs of defects are significantly higher, somewhere between 7 and 11 times higher than the cost of preventing those defects when all costs are considered. That's an important distinction, is that when all costs are considered, those 2 lines can never intersect. Finding the defect when it is still in-house is cheaper than the cost of defects found at the customer. Defects at the customer are highest of all because all possible costs have been incurred. I talked about that from a supply chain standpoint in the last installment. Finding defects in-house requires some inspection activity. So this is generally the biggest bucket of money that is associated with appraisal. So what are some things that should be considered as appraisal costs? So typically the most common appraisal costs are labor associated with people who do the inspection activity. And then a secondary bucket to that, depending on the technology savvy of the business, is devices that are associated with the inspection activity. So those are 2 of the largest categories. Automation, sorting costs, and supply chain management are among the other possible costs that are associated with appraisal. I want to make a distinction here between the cost of inspection and the cost of the defect found in inspection. Those are 2 different categories of costs, and they should not be lumped together. So inspection, while we consider it to be a necessary evil, that cost is different from the cost of defective product that is found in the inspection process. So the cost of defective product found in the inspection process is higher than the cost of the inspection activity itself. And that really comes down to the cost of the material and the cost of all the time that had been put into it up to that point. So if this is an interesting subject to you and you want to learn more, you can take my short lesson on cost of quality through the on-demand content link on our website, qualityandpractice.solutions, or reach out for more details so we can have a chat and learn how we might be able to help you on your journey. You can contact us at info@qualityandpractice.solutions. Thank you for joining me today for the Quality and Practice Minute. We'll see you next time.